Hi guys, welcome to my July favourites feelings edition where I tell you my favourite things in July that I did not purchase, featuring this huge sunflower that doesn't fit in frame. I love watching favourites videos, but I don't want to recommend products, and also I wouldn't take my own advice on things like what moisturiser to buy. So instead I've written a list of all my favourite things that made me feel a certain kind of way in July. I'm going to start off with something that made me feel inspired in July, and that is the work of the Australian artist Rachel Burke, who I hadn't heard of up until that month. But since I found out about her, I am just obsessed. Rachel Burke basically makes wearable art, and a lot of what she specialises in is working with things from like junk shops or pound shops and turning them into basically like high fashion. She also works a lot with, she calls them melty beads, but in the UK we call them hammer beads, which were a huge fixture of my childhood, making little patterns, ironing over them and turning them into huge wall installations and clothing. The colours are just, chef's kiss, so beautiful. And what I also really like about what she does is, as someone who loves making things, I think there can be a pressure to feel like you have one medium that you use and that's your expertise. And obviously she has a lot of expertise, but she works across mediums and she does stuff that would probably be defined as crafts. It's definitely art, but it's not art in the traditional sense of painting and drawing that I think people, especially outside of maybe the arts world, are more comfortable labeling as art. Because I know when I'm making things, people always refer to it as crafting, which I love to craft. But there's something about seeing someone take those accessible skills and things that we've all done and elevate them so much that's just so inspiring to me. And actually her wall hangings like this made out of the hammer beads really remind me of crochet granny squares, and I just think she has absolutely unique taste and vision, and I'm obsessed. And there's such a sense of play in what she's doing as well. It's just so fun. Like, I love the idea of making something that's just beautiful and silly. Yeah, and I just came away from finding her work feeling extremely inspired and thinking about getting back into hammer beads. And I think she has just immediately become like my favourite ever artist. I was transfixed when I found her content. So if you have a favourite artist or someone who makes you feel that way, I'd love for you to share them, because it was such a good feeling. I think it also really helped me that sometimes seeing too many people who are also doing like fibre crafts the way I am is actually quite demotivating for me. I love seeing it and I'm very enchanted by it, but I'll find that I feel like intimidated or can make me feel kind of like, oh, well, I'll never be as good as that, great. Whereas seeing someone who has the same sort of taste but works in a different field is a really nice feeling. And speaking of making things, my favourite project that I've worked on this month is my crochet rosettes. My birthday was coming up, which is what made me think of these, and I went to a village fete where they were giving out rosettes, and it reminded me of how much I always wanted one. And when I used to read books about horse girls winning rosettes, I would be so taken with the idea. And then I was like, I'm pretty sure you could crochet one of those. So I came up with the pattern for this myself, and the first one I made I liked a lot, but definitely needed a few tweaks. I hadn't learned yet to cross over these front sections. I hadn't got the pleats quite right. And actually you can also see on this one, where I got the body more how I wanted it, I was using doubled up thread that I just don't think translates very well. It looks too chunky. So instead, I started using single line thread and also a fabric stiffener that's keeping these pleats nice and in place. So I'm very pleased with this one. Then after that, I made one for my friend Sam because we are birthday twins and I thought it'd be a nice present. But obviously I'm a Leo, so I had to have one for myself too. So this is my birthday girl rosette. And then I wanted to experiment with using different colours within the same rosette. So this one is inspired by angel cakes, which were a huge feature of my packed lunches as a child. And I think the text on this one is the nicest I've got it so far, because I used to embroider quite a lot and I haven't for a while, so I'm still trying to bring that skill back. But it's nice to feel like it's a multimedia project. And then, inspired by my trip to the sunflower fields on my birthday, I'm making myself a sunflower rosette, text TBC on this one. But I have loads of ideas for more of them I want to make. I want to make a ladybird one, a moth one, because I feel like the pleats around the side could be styled into different things. I also think little pride rosettes could be really cute. So yeah, very fixated on these at the moment and just loving making them. And I'm also going to put together a pattern for them, which will be my 4th pattern that I've written, and I feel like I'm getting better at doing that as well, which is a nice feeling. And this is going to be quite a satisfying example of something where the pattern is not pages and pages long, like when you write the pattern out for a t-shirt or a vest, but we'll have lots of variations, which is very exciting. My favourite thing that has made me laugh in July is the TV show Such Brave Girls, which is written by and also stars Kat Sadler, which I didn't realise at first. So I was like, where have they found this hilarious woman who can pull these incredibly sad facial expressions? But she's actually the writer of it and stars in it alongside her sister, which I really love. And if you haven't seen it, it's about a mother and 2 daughters who are in a lot of debt, have a lot of like toxic family dynamics, and are trying to like scrape their way out of their situation. Which sounds bleak, and it actually is quite bleak, but that's part of what makes it so hilarious. And it will just go to these really dark and funny places that I don't see a lot of TV shows tiptoeing into. There's a line in it where she's talking to a co-worker and she's like, do you ever just come home at the end of a long day and make yourself a nice dinner, sit down in front of the TV and think, why don't I just kill myself? It's on its 2nd series now, so there's loads of episodes to catch up on, and I just think it is the funniest show the BBC have put out in years. My next favourite I would recommend if you are looking to feel devastated, enthralled, enchanted, and that is the film My Old Ass with Aubrey Plaza. Now this actually came out ages ago, and I think I'm really behind the curve on it. Several of my friends have recommended it and I hadn't got around to watching it yet. I actually also knew very little about the plot other than what was sort of put out there about it, which is that during a mushroom trip, this woman's younger self meets her older self. And I would really recommend going into it with so little knowledge, because it meant everything that happened. I was like, whoa. But to sell it to you a little more, it's set on a cranberry farm in Canada, so all of the scenery is so incredibly beautiful. There's loads of shots of her riding her boat out on the lake. I also didn't realise it was set in modern day. I thought it would be that her older self is in the present and then she goes back to the past. And it's one of the only films I feel like where they capture kind of a Gen Z teenager without it being super, super cringe. It's really tempting to say more because I just loved it so much and I could talk about it loads. Basically, it's beautiful and very hopeful, but also devastating, and I just can't recommend it enough. But I'm gonna zip, because I think going into it not knowing and trying to guess where the plot was headed was part of the fun of watching it, and I wish that for you. Something that's brought me a lot of joy in July has been watching Liza Kits make the Flora felt frog. My goodness, all of that was a mouthful. But this is a small business owner, an artist I follow on Instagram and TikTok, who makes these super cute felt little frogs, and I just love them. She's clearly got such an eye for detail and they're so sweet, and she recently also made a new set of patterns. They're all different little creatures. Obviously online you see a lot of stuff that's AI or mass-made impressions of things that used to be lovingly handmade, but I have really found that my Instagram and TikTok feed, I feel very lucky on my art account at least, have become very curated to people who are lovingly making things. And it's just so nice to see people doing that and also being successful with doing that. I am particularly obsessed with this little video where Liza makes a bed for her felt creations, and I just think it's the cutest, most whimsical thing ever, and a great example of like, why not make something just because it's really fun and joyful. I'm going to put her link below if you want to go and see all the extremely cute things that she makes. And then finally, and I know I said that this was a no purchase edition, but I did not buy this, and what I like about it partly is that it's obviously extremely practical and helpful, but also it made me feel very seen. And that's it for my birthday. My home friends got me this little crochet craft bag that I now carry everywhere with me like it's my briefcase. I'm power walking through the city centre with this on my arm, always about to miss my bus. But it's just so incredibly cute and helpful. So I've got my crochet hooks in here, and then I have one colour of each of my yarns in here. And it just means instead of like shoving all my stuff in my bag every time I got on and off the train, it lives in here, like in this little pocket, my needle pouch, in this one here, scissors. And it just means I'm much less likely as well to leave the house with something missing that I actually crucially need in order to do any of this. So this made me feel extremely seen and supported and excited to be always carrying 10 plus skeins of yarn. Those are my July favourites. I am also at the moment working on a longer form video that I really want to get out there, but it's just taking me a little bit longer than I thought to organise my ideas. So I thought in the meantime it would be nice to do something like this. Other honourable mentions for July favourites would be camping, swimming in the sea, Shetland ponies, and this particular shade of pink. Feel free to let me know your July favourites. Thanks for watching, and I'm going to go and make myself a sunflower rosette. Bye!